Hey guys, Colebello here and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be showing you 7 build hacks that you can use for your living rooms in Bloxburg. I'm going to be showing you custom couches, chairs, tables, and more, so if you want to make your living rooms more realistic, then keep on watching. Starting off, we have this custom couch from my most recent build. I love doing custom couches. I add them to literally every living room that I make, so if you're going to make any of these, it should definitely be this one. Start off with a smooth cube and resize it to 10.45 by 3.5 by 0.45. Next, I'm going to create the sides and back with a beveled cube. This is going to be 0.85 by 3.6 by 1.95. Next, you're going to place these on the edge and transform them down so that they reach the floor and then across until this part isn't visible anymore. Next, you're going to copy one of these, rotate it 90 degrees, and resize it to fit the width of the back of the couch. Once it looks something like this, you can transform it until it fits together seamlessly. Now for the cushions at the bottom, we're going to take a beveled cube and resize it to 3.75 by 3.1 by 0.75. And this is supposed to face the other way, so I'm just going to rotate it. And then if you place 3 of these, it should be enough space in between. Now I'm going to transform each of these down by 0.9 and back by 0.17 so that they sit a little nicer in the couch. As you can see, it kind of makes this shadow less harsh, and it also just makes it look nicer. And then finally, for the pillows in the back, you're going to use a comfy pillow, and this is going to be 3.1 by 1.9, and then the thickest width. And then you can also just tilt each of these a little bit back. You can also transform them down a little bit too. And now you can go in and add whatever decorations you want. I like to just go in with the basic square pillows in the corners and also put a blanket in the center. But obviously it's up to you and whatever style you want to go for. But once you're done decorating it, you're going to transform it up a little bit. And then you're going to resize a cube to the smallest dimensions to create the legs. Just do it in the 4 corners like so. And then use transform to move them into place. But here's what it looks like all finished. It's super cute and simple, but there's a lot of room for creativity. You can make it wider, you can make it shorter, you can change the shape and do like a U pattern. It's really up to you, but I think it's so cute. On to the next one. For our second build hack, we have this custom armchair, which is still traditional, but it has these angled sides that give it a little bit of a modern feel. Start off by placing a beveled cube and resize it to 2.8 by 2.9 by 1.2. Then place another on top and resize the height to 0.55. Next, you're going to place a smooth cube and resize it to 0.85 by 1.7 and then the length of the side of the chair. Next, you can copy this and resize them down to make the sides. And with this one and with the couch, make sure you're placing everything on top of these already existing cubes so that you can copy paste it for future chairs. I would also transform this top cushion down a little bit, and then you can bring these back up so that they sit just over the top a little bit. Next, you're going to copy this and rotate it to make the back. It should be about 4.1 wide, and then the height should be 2.35. Next, you're going to copy this piece again and change the height to 0.85. And make it a little shorter. And this is the part that's going to be angled to make these two connect. Now this is going to require trial and error, but you just want to get these 2 edges connected. It should look something like this, and then you can just copy the same thing for the other side. Finally, I'm going to place a comfy pillow on top and resize it down to about the height of this. And you just want to transform this to kind of look flush with the back of this. And it's essentially just to make this smoother in the back. Then you can just add a pillow on top. And in the original, I just did this orangey color with the leather material. And in a finished room, it looks something like this. I think it's super cute. It can really go with any style, so it's a great addition to any living room. At number 3, we have another armchair, but this one is much different. This one is a lot more contemporary, it's more open, and I think it's just perfect for like a modern house. So let's get into it. We're going to start with a beveled cube. You're going to resize this to 3.1 by 3.25 by 0.7. And then you're going to resize a normal cube to 3.25 by 3.6 by 0.3. And this cube should just fit nicely on top of this with a little bit of room on the sides. Next, you're going to copy this and make the width 2.3, and this is going to be angled slightly backward, so make this 90 degrees and then tilt it back 10 degrees. After that, just use transform to move it up, and you pretty much want this to sit fully on top of the bottom cube. Next, I'm going to place this on a transparent cube because it's easier that way. Then I'm going to place this on the cube and transform it up by about 0.6. Next, I'm going to create the pattern on the back, so I'm going to resize a cube to a thickness of 0.3 and a width of 3.25. Next, you're going to transform this up and angle it downwards by 10 degrees again, and make sure that this part is just touching. And it should also stick up a little bit like this. Then you're going to copy this and make it 0.3 wide again, but this time vertical, and the height should be about 2.9. And you're going to place 6 of these and transform them down so that they create a pattern at the bottom. It should look something like this. And now I'm going to create the armrests and legs. So you can copy this piece right here and just delete all these extra beams. Then rotate this, change the length to 4.25. And then transform this up so that it's about halfway from the bottom. And then this edge should be sticking just past here. And then it should stick out there like that. Now you're going to create another one that's 4 long. And this is going to be the leg that's angled this way. I honestly don't know the exact angle, but you can just make it look something like this. And then you're going to copy this again and then make the length 2.5. And then angle it the opposite direction. And then hopefully you can copy this and just put it on the other side. Now you can just add a pillow on top, transform it down until the transparent cube is invisible, and you are good to go. Here is the finished product. I think it looks very contemporary, very modern, and overall very unique in comparison to the in-game chairs. For number 4, I have this custom TV stand. Bloxburg has some of these in-game, but there's not that many options, and I feel like they're kind of tiny. This one is much bigger, so I feel like it serves as a nice focal point for any living room. Start off with a normal cube and resize it to 10 by 2.9 by 0.4. Next, I'm going to copy this to make the sides, which are also 0.4 thick and 1.95 tall. Next, I'm just using the same bottom piece to make the top. Next, I'm going to copy this and make it the thinnest width to make the back. Next, I'm going to copy this and move it into here. And then from this side, you're going to go 2.85 inwards and just repeat the same process on the other side. Now I'm just going to copy the back piece to make a backing for the cabinets. Next, I'm going to copy this, take it down to the thinnest width, and then this is going to be 2.45 wide. And then take it down to the smallest height. Next, you're going to copy this and use transform to create a rectangular shape. And you may need to adjust the length so that there's space on the edges. So for me, it's about 2.35 right now. And it should look like this with a little bit of space on the edges. Next, you're going to copy this and change the width to 0.4 and just make it the height of this. And then you're just going to keep copying this for the wood paneling effect in the back. So to do this, you can just transform it down to the same height and then move it to the side by 0.42. And then that'll create a little space in between, as you see. And then you just keep copying it until you have about 5 or 6. Now you can use thin square beams to create the handle. You just want one long one and then 2 short ones. And then move it out by 0.1 and then just transform these to make the top and bottom. Once it looks like this, you can copy it for the other side. And then obviously just move the handle over so it's symmetrical. And now you can make a shelf in the center real quick by just copying this. Finally, I'm going to move this up a little bit and make the legs. For this one, I'm using horizontal wedges because it creates a nice slanted look. So this is just going to be sized down to the smallest dimensions and then about this tall, and copy it. Then you just have to flip this upside down and then just transform it so that it's flush with the front, and it should look like this. I don't feel like doing the back ones, but you get the point. And now you can just recolor. And just a tip for the backs of the cabinets that are kind of hidden back here, I like to do the same material but a little bit darker with the slider, because this creates some dimension that really makes this pattern stand out. And yeah, it should look like this. And this is what it looks like with some decoration. I think it looks a lot better than the in-game TV stands and really just makes a great focal point for any living room. At number 5, we have this custom coffee table. This one is really simple to make, but I think it looks really cool. So you're just going to take a cube and resize it down to a height of 0.5. And then there's no like specific dimension for the width and length. You just want to make it a square and just kind of do whatever size best fits your living room. Right now I'm just going to go with 5.75. And then copy this and transform it up a little bit, probably about like this much. And then copy this and size it down to 0.75 on both sides. And then just bring it up to the height of this, and then it should just fit nicely in the corner. You may have to transform it to get it even, but then you can just recolor this, and that's literally it. Here's what it looks like styled. Again, super simple, but I think it looks really cool. At number 6, we have another coffee table, but this one is much different. The design is very unique, and it's perfect for like a modern or a contemporary house. So you're going to start off with a vertical cylinder, and this is going to be a width of 4.7 and a height of 0.8. Next, you're going to take a cone and bring it out to the same width of 4.7. And then you're just going to flip this upside down, transform it down a little bit, and then change the height so that it looks something like this. And that is the finished design. Just like the last one, it's very easy to make. And this is the finished product. The design is definitely interesting. I don't even know if this would be possible like in real life. I guess it looks pretty stable from the side. But either way, I think it looks very cool, very different than the in-game coffee tables, and definitely a great thing to add to your modern house. Last but not least, at number 7, we have this custom fireplace, which is definitely giving modern farmhouse vibes if that's what you're going for. So this one you will need the basement game pass for, so just make a basement by wherever you want to make your fireplace. And if you don't have the game pass, then just skip this step because it doesn't change that much. But if you do, you're just going to place a cube in the basement. You can make it pretty big and size it up to 10.95. And then you're going to place the simple fireplace right on top. And I'm going to immediately recolor it because this lighting is horrendous. And then you can just place a floor on top. So all that does is just bring the height down of the fireplace a little bit and get rid of that floor at the bottom. So again, if you can't do that, it's like fine. Next, I'm going to resize a normal cube to 10.1 by 3.55 by 0.95. And then this is just going to go right in the middle of the fireplace and then transform it back until it hits the wall. Next, you're going to take another cube and resize it to the width of the fireplace. And then you're going to change the width to 1.05. And this is just going to go on these sides of the fireplace to get rid of this slanted side because I don't like it. And it also just makes this opening more square, which I think looks more proportional. Now you can use a beveled cube to create the shelf. This is going to be 0.5 tall, 0.75 wide, and then the width of the fireplace. And then you're going to transform that up to about this height, but it doesn't have to be accurate. And then I'm going to use cubes to change the top color of the fireplace. So you're going to make this as thin as it goes, and then the width of the front facade, and then whatever height you're doing for this. Keep in mind that you can transform this so that it goes all the way up to the ceiling. And then if you have a slanted roof like I do in the original, you can just add a horizontal wedge at the top to match the shape. But if not, you can just keep it flat like this. So this should just be just barely visible so that there's not that much space here. And then once it looks like that, you can copy this for these sides. Next, you're going to resize another cube to the smallest dimensions and then the width of this side. And this is just going to be the base of this top section, which you want to be kind of in the middle of this shelf. So you can actually pull this down a little bit more and then just put it on the other side. Next, you're going to copy this and make it thinner and taller to make the beams on the front. And then you can make them a little wider so that they stick out more. And then just transform the one on the corners so that they are even to both sides, like this. And then for the rest of them, you can just copy them and place them in an equal distance to each other. And then you just copy this on the sides. But yeah, then you can just recolor this to any accent color you want. If you want this color, here's the hex code. And then for dimension, I like to make the pillars a little bit lighter, just so that they stick out. But this is what it looks like with all of the decorations added. I think it looks so cool, definitely giving farmhouse energy. And it is customizable, like you can really just add any accent color you want to this top portion. I think this sage green looks really good, but of course just be creative with it. And that is it for this video. If you made it to the end, then thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. The speed builds for all of the houses featured in this video are on my channel, so definitely go check them out. And this is also part of a little mini series. I've made videos for kitchen, bathroom, and bedroom build hacks as well. So if you want any inspiration for those rooms, then make sure to check out those videos on my channel. As always, make sure to follow my socials. I'm on Instagram and TikTok, and I post a lot of behind the scenes content there and just extra videos. And I will see you in the next one. Bye!